at one point he's hungry and he sits down and he eats a bunch of seaweed and it doesn't agree with him. So he gets an upset stomach and he's feeling sick. So he turns green.
You're watching the Spotlight Network. Starring Hollywood's newsman, Logan Crawford.
They now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford. Streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now we're heading to the shoreline with one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite authors, and she has written a wonderful children's series called Franky the Cranky Crab. And the book we're looking at today in specific is called Sea Glass Jack's Myth, but we'll be looking at her other two books as well. This colorful and heartwarming tale follows Franky, a cranky but lovable crab who changes colors with his moods and embarks on a wild quest for true friendship. With whimsical art and unforgettable characters, this author once again captures young hearts and imaginations in a world where even crankiness has its charm. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her beautiful books. The links are below this interview. Mary, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Hi, Logan. How are you? Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you back on the show. These books are wonderful. The colorful illustrations are behind you there that show a little bit of Franky's wonderful life, even though he is a bit cranky at times. Let's start out by talking about how you came up with the idea for Franky the Cranky Crab in the first place.
Well, it first came to me with my father's name is Frank, and he was getting older, and he was having a pretty bad day one day, and I told him, I could make a character about you. I'd call him Franky the Cranky Crab, and it always just stuck with me. So when I started writing books for kids, that was one of the first books that I worked on was Franky the Cranky Crab. That's the name of the first book. And then it became the name of the series as well.
Well, that's a great hat tip to your dad, no doubt.
Yes.
And talk to us about the second book in the series, Sea Glass Jack's Myth. What's that story about?
Okay, Sea Glass Jack's Myth is, here's a copy of it right here. It introduces his major rival.
Okay.
Sea Glass Jack is an old crabber, and he thinks that if he can catch this crab of many colors, that it's going to bring him good fortune and a lifetime of good luck. So he's constantly trying to capture Franky, and he's the rival in the story. So this one introduces him. Wonderful. And it introduces a few more things about Franky that they don't learn in the first book. So,
what kind of rivalry do they have? Talk to us about that relationship.
Well, like I said, he's a crabber. So, crabbers, that's what they do. They catch crabs. And he's constantly chasing Franky, but he also misses Franky. He doesn't get him most of the time. He has a first mate named Stretch, who is an octopus. And sometimes it seems like that octopus might be just a little bit smarter than Sea Glass Jack. Sea Glass Jack is called Sea Glass Jack because he has a monocle, and he takes it out of his eye and he pops it in the end of his sea glass when he's searching for Franky. So that's where he gets his name. And they just Franky's aware that he chases him, and he, is constantly on the lookout, and Sea Glass Jack is trying all different kinds of things to capture him.
Wonderful. Well, we know kids love SpongeBob SquarePants, and this kind of has that feel, Franky the Cranky Crab with Sea Glass Jack and so forth. Have you envisioned this as a children's series?
Yes, I do. I have actually ideas and the outlines for up to 20 books at this point. And
Wow.
each book in the beginning of the series introduces, new characters. The third book is called Message in a Bottle. This is Message in a Bottle.
Yep.
And this one introduces Walter the Wise Old Sea Turtle. Walter the Wise Old Sea Turtle is who the characters in the book go to when they need advice. And so what they do, we call it walking the dock. They walk to the end of the dock and they sit down, and Walter will come up and they'll talk about their problems, and Walter helps them solve some of the problems. It also introduces Clarice. Clarice actually is introduced in book 2, Sea Glass Jack's Myth. She comes in at the end, and she is his friend. She's a friend that he discovers. And she becomes his companion throughout the series. And so there's a lot of things that happen. They start a family eventually. And when that happens, there's stories galore. I mean, it's kind of like, I often say anything that happens in life can happen to Franky.
Right.
And so, anything can become a story. And they really focus on emotions. Like he changes color when his emotions change. And
Exactly. Almost like one of those old mood rings, right?
yes, he figures it out. He doesn't know that at first, but along the way he figures out that it's actually his emotions that changes colors. So
And what are some of the colors he changes, and what are the emotions he feels? And I think it's great also because it kind of helps children become in touch with their own feelings, their own emotions, right?
right, and that was the idea behind the series. It helps kids learn about emotions without even realizing it. They're enjoying a good book, but they're also learning, and they don't really even know it. It would be like in the beginning in the story with Sea Glass Jack's Myth. Franky's on a journey. He wants to find the meaning of true friendship, and he gets very lonely because he leaves home to take this journey. And he's missing his family. It starts to rain at one point. He's tired, and he turns blue, in the story, because he's sad. At one point, he's hungry, and he sits down and he eats a bunch of seaweed, and it doesn't agree with him. So he gets an upset stomach, and he's feeling sick. So he turns green. And when he's happy, he could be a red color. When he gets really excited, he turns orange. When he's scared, he turns yellow. So you get a lot of different emotions.
Yeah.
And it's a good way for kids to learn that it's okay to feel different ways at different times. Even feeling sad is okay.
Exactly.
And it helps them to know that there are times when you should be feeling sad.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, it'll help kids understand their emotions, label their emotions,
Mhm.
and be able to discuss with their parents and caregivers or teachers about how they're feeling. They're feeling sad, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling scared, whatever that emotion might be. And I think that's a great aspect of this book. Another great aspect of this book is not only the enchanting stories, but the wonderful, imaginative illustrations. And you're the artist behind it all, right?
I am. I love painting. I have always loved doing artwork. And I even paint, almost anything could be a canvas to me. I even paint furniture at times, old furniture, and turn it into something new. So this came very natural to me. Once I developed the characters, then making the pictures was really a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to do. And I use an art technique that is Eric Carle's used this technique in his books. He painted tissue paper. And so I basically start with a good line drawing as if it was like a coloring book drawing. And then I fill it in with painted tissue paper. And
Very cool.
different patterns, different colors make the different parts of the picture: the ocean water, the sky, the sun, the Franky when he's different colors. So
It also gives the painting some texture, which is unique as well, right?
it does. It
Mhm.
definitely does. You make the texture by the patterns that you paint on the tissue paper. And because it's on tissue paper, it really carries the light. The color in the pictures when they're all done carry the light very well. It really just brightens the pictures up. And I think it's because what it's painted on is tissue paper. So
Very cool. It's such a great technique, and it really brings the characters to life. Is there a favorite painting that you've made in these books that really stands out to you? That when you made it, you're like, "Oh, I love that. I love his interaction with this character, that character, or something like
um,
that."
let me see. I have so many that I really love. I try to put the most exciting ones on, like the front cover gets the ones that I think describe the book. This one, I don't know if you can see it, but he's holding his sea glass, the sea glass jack, and he's looking through the sea glass. And there's a very faint image of Franky the Cranky Crab in it. So that's kind of a fun
It's
picture.
awesome. That is
Yeah,
a very fun, particularly its reflection. I think kids would like that as well. They'll be looking to see if they can see their own reflection in there.
right. And
Yeah.
the colors, this was one of my favorites, was the picture where he turns brown. And I
Yep.
put in a pink sky, and it
Cool.
just popped. The picture to me is one of the prettiest pictures
It
that
really is pretty. Beautiful colors.
it's a gorgeous picture. Yeah.
I can see your tropical influence there. The pictures,
Yeah.
the colors are so vivid, they're so tropical, they're
Yes,
really great. And I think children like that. I think they
they
like
do.
vivid colors, they like strong words. I think that's terrific. So you said you have as many as 20 books planned for this series.
Yes.
What kind of adventures might we see Frankie in as he goes along his merry way?
Well, I just finished writing the stories for books 5, 6, and 7. They're called, book 5 is called Three Little Frankies, a family reveal. So Frankie and Clarice find out they're going to start a family, and Frankie is learning to control his emotions, to control his colors. In
Wow.
that book, he learns how to camouflage,
Hmm.
controlling his emotions. Then he decides he's going to reveal what they're going to have to Clarice by changing colors. And
Wow.
that's the Three Little Frankies, a family reveal. Then it goes into It's Time, Frankie. And of course, that talks about um, going to the ocean and laying the nest of eggs. And it gives the kids a little bit of an education as well about crabs and how they lay the eggs. Then they go back about 10 days before the eggs hatch, and they sit on whatever eggs are remaining, which are not many.
Mhm.
Usually, like 3 to 5 eggs are left in the nest by the time they return. And then in that particular story, Frankie, they go back to the nest, and there's an unusual egg that they didn't expect. Okay. So then that leads us into the next book, which is called Be Brave, Levi, and Follow the Moon. And it turns out that Clarice takes their 3 little crabs back home, and Frankie has to sit on the nest till the strange egg hatches. And it ends up being it's not a crab. Let me just put
That
it
was
to you.
my guess.
Yeah.
That was
And
my guess.
and the story is about raising this new little member of the family. So
Awesome.
it's full of excitement. The 3 books together, I think, would make a terrific movie. Actually, if you
Too.
put the 3 of them together, there's another one I've also written already, but I have to do the pictures for all of these now. But
Hmm.
the next one after book 7 is called "Keep Your Phone to Your Selfie." And that addresses using cell phones in the electronical age and what is happening to our children. Is it affecting their emotions?
Okay.
Do we need to maybe make some rules and have some boundaries? So
Sure.
that's a really interesting book. It goes through things like I address strike 3, you're out.
Yeah.
It's about winning and losing, which I
Great.
think is important. And I think we're really good about celebrating wins, but sometimes we don't really want to address the fact that we have to be able to accept when we don't win. Sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. So that,
Sometimes we wind up singing the blues, right?
yeah, that's right.
That's
Absolutely.
true. I think these are great lessons for children to learn. I think they're great lessons for grown-ups to learn. I think it'll spark great conversations within families. We've been talking about a terrific series of children's books today. The broad title is Franky the Cranky Crab, and then there are subtitles, of course. The original is Franky the Cranky Crab, and then there's Sea Glass Jack's Myth, followed by Message in a Bottle, and more to come. These are sensational books with wonderful stories that'll help your children understand their emotions and understand their feelings and help them communicate better, plus have a rollicking good time of watching Franky as he's on all of his wonderful mystical adventures. And the illustrations are beautiful. You'll want to put them on the wall. They're that pretty. Mary, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so glad that you asked me to come back, and I love sharing the books.
I
So
love
I
having you on the show, and I love hearing your great stories, and I love looking at your wonderful work. So we appreciate your time, your talent, and your insight. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.